Hi guys, this is GSMDome and I'm here with one of the toughest foldable phones on the market, the Honor Magic V3. I've seen it countless times dropped in a washing machine and it survived. On top of that, it has a periscope camera. It also has a circle to search, and it also comes with Magic Portal for well, improved multitasking, and of course some AI features. It's priced at around 2,000 euros. It debuted at IFA 2024 in September, and once again it's a rival for the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6, but with a crazy thickness, the lowest on the market, around 4 millimeters, which is once again unbelievable. So the Honor Magic V3 is probably the comfiest and sturdiest foldable phone, but let's see if it has other things going for it. So first of all, the design. The device is IPX8 certified. The X means it doesn't have dust resilience, but it does have water resilience. You can sink it up to 2.5 meters of liquid for 30 minutes. When you open it up, you'll be shocked to learn that it measures 4.35 millimeters in thickness, world record. The Galaxy Z Fold 6 is 5.6 millimeters, and the Xiaomi Mix Fold 4 is 4.6 millimeters, and that's pretty impressive if you ask me. When closed, it measures 9.2 millimeters, and it weighs 226 grams, and keep in mind that the iPhone 16 Pro Max is 1 gram heavier. I would say it's pretty comfy, both in closed format and in open format. I would say it's the comfiest foldable phone on the market, even better than the Pixel One, the OnePlus Open, and the Galaxy Z Fold 6. It's also rather robust, and there's a layer here. There's a special gel within the screen, which once it senses an impact, it will solidify to protect the panel, which is quite cool. At the back side, we have a special type of fiber, which is supposed to be 40 times more resilient than the back of an iPhone. And we have a super steel hinge here, which measures just 2.84 millimeters in thickness, and also a nano crystal shield for the external screen, just so you know. Now, aside from all those things, we have an aluminum frame and a camera design which reminds me of the Huawei Watch GT5. The colors are black, green, white, and red. We've spoken enough about the design. I think it's time to address the display, and I'm going to start with the big one, the main one. This one here, well, we're dealing with a foldable LTPO AMOLED, 7.92 inches in diagonal, shows 1 billion colors, resolution 2344 over 2156 pixels, HDR10 Plus support, Dolby Vision, 120 Hz refresh rate, and up to 1800 nits of brightness. It's supposed to have something called rhinoceros protection, apparently, and it has, I would say, decently narrow bezels. Now, aside from that, there is the outer screen, which is this one here, and it's best served to show you that the keyboard is comfier than the one of the Galaxy Z Fold 6. This is a 6.43 incher, this one, and we're dealing with an LTPO OLED panel, 1 billion colors, Full HD Plus resolution, and 120 Hz as well. Now, when it comes to video watching, video playing, the experience goes like this. That's the external screen. A bit more immersive, I would say, than the internal one, on account of the punch hole being more discreet. Wide view angles, excellent brightness even in the full sun, and pretty solid contrast. Now, the internal screen has the eternal problem of all foldables, the black bars around the image. It's best served if you use it like this, but you will get the punch hole in your way, and you have to zoom in a bit and you'll lose some of the sides if you're zooming into the image. A satisfying experience though when it comes to the white color palette, excellent contrast, deep blacks, and an overall nice experience. Did I say bright? Yes, it's also a bright screen. Okay, now, aside from that, I should probably talk about the tests we did. So let's see here. We had Honor Magic V3. We measured the brightness of 942 lux units. That's for the main screen, this one here, which you're seeing right now. With this level of brightness, with this 942 lux units, we were able to be below the Galaxy Z Fold 6, which goes above 1000 nits, 1000 lux, and we're also below the OnePlus Open, which is also 1000 lux. We're above the Honor Magic V3 by a few points, and above the Huawei Mate X3, other foldables out there. Now, the outer screen measures 859 lux units. That's how much we measured here, above the Moto Razr 50, above the Huawei Mate X3, but once again below the Samsungs and the OnePlus Open. So yeah, there's that. Now, Honor has put a lot of research and emphasis into protecting our eyes. That's why we have a huge amount of settings for the screen. Aside from the brightness ones, which I can turn up a bit, automatic font settings, phone display size, color mode and temperature. We have a reading mode. There's also the Honor Eye Comfort display. So you can protect your sleep with the circadian night display. There's defocus eye care. It can relieve the refractive state of your eyes with myopic defocus stimulation. Basically, the edges of the images will show lighter colors. Natural tone and eye comfort, plus dynamic dimming. It lowers the flicker which may bother your eyes. So yeah, this screen is not only gorgeous, but it also takes care of your sight and sleep. Now, as far as the hardware is concerned, let me show you a little app here. And we're talking about the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor. It's a 4nm chip, octa-core. It's accompanied by a pretty strong array of specs. There's 12 gigs of RAM, expanded with a RAM expansion feature with another 12. There's also 16 gig RAM version of this phone, just so you know. We have a half a terabyte of storage here. There are also versions with 1 terabyte or 256 gigabytes. This is UFS 4.0 storage. There's no lag here, and I did play a bunch of games, just minor ones, nothing heavy. Diablo Immortal and also Asphalt 9 and a FPS test. I also did that. Didn't experience any overheating, any lag or any problem. However, I did experience some throttling. Yes, it's there. I did a CPU throttling test, and let's see how that panned out. So we lost 30% of the performance when doing that CPU test, which means that actually the Galaxy Z Fold 5 did better with only losing 22% and the OnePlus Open only 14%. That's how much it lost. However, in the benchmarks it was pretty strong. In Antutu 10 we're on the 17th spot, just above the Galaxy Z Fold 6 and the iPhone 16, while in Geekbench 6 it didn't fare that well. However, it caught the top 20. It's superior more to the previous year phones than the current year phones. Seems to be stronger in the GPU department, scoring a 3rd place, 8th place, and also 11th place in the 3D Mark tests. In most of them, it was able to surpass the Galaxy Z Fold 6. So when it comes to gaming, you should be just fine. Now, we also did a temperature test, and we go here, and then we go, I actually didn't screenshot it. Anyway, you can take my word for it, it was around 40 degrees tops when doing the whole Antutu thing. I actually think I have it saved here somewhere. So screenshots, I should probably be able to find Antutu pretty fast. You can see here the temperature fluctuation. Temperature monitor, 34 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Celsius, and this is the fluctuation of temperature up to 40 degrees during Antutu 10. The performance checks out, and now it's time to talk about the battery. The predecessor, the Honor Magic V2, had a 5000 mAh battery. This one has a bigger one, 5150 mAh. It's silicon carbon, charges at 66 watts via wire, 50 watts wirelessly. It also has reverse wireless charging, believe it or not. Now, the experience it offered us was, I would say, satisfying. 18 hours and 45 minutes of video playback. It's above the Galaxy Z Fold 4 and the Razer 40 Ultra. However, it's below the OnePlus Open. It's also below the Galaxy Z Fold 6 and even below the predecessor, which had 19 hours. I honestly expected a bit more. Continuous usage, it's actually not this one here. This is continuous usage for the external screen, and the continuous usage for the internal screen, well, it's, I would say, pretty modest because it's only 8 hours and 37 minutes. To be honest, I expected more. It's just above the Galaxy Z Flip 3, Z Fold 2. It's below quite a few foldable phones, OnePlus Open, the predecessor Honor Magic V2, Galaxy Z Fold 6. So yeah, expected better, but with the screen closed, I'm actually quite impressed. 15 hours, 42 minutes. Now, when you charge it, it's going to be pretty fast, 46 minutes for a foldable. Samsung's phone takes well over an hour, and in 30 minutes you're at 80%, so that's pretty nice. When it comes to the acoustics, you can see one of the speakers is here and the other one is here at the top side, and we should have a typical audio sample test to test those two stereo speakers. Okay, so I would say that the bass is lacking here. I like the mids very much. The voice was pretty fine. The guitars are also fine. The speakers will not be covered when you hold the phone like this. Your hands will actually amplify the sound, so that's kind of nice. Yeah, I listened to the new Linkin Park album, which was out on November 15th. Tantrum Desire, which is basically drum and bass, and I was satisfied except maybe for the bass. Now, when it comes to the tests, we have them here. The volume power, 84.8 decibels at the top, 82.2 decibels at the bottom, achieved with a typical acoustic sample, which means we're surpassing the Galaxy Z Fold 6 and the OnePlus Open, but we're scoring below the predecessor, the Honor Magic V2 and the Galaxy Z Fold 2. When it comes to multimedia, which can basically be gaming, we have 98.4 decibels above the OnePlus Open and the Honor Magic V2, but below the Galaxy Z Fold 6 and below the Galaxy S24 Ultra. Now, we have finally reached the camera. You can see here a pill-shaped punch hole for the internal camera. It's a 20 megapixel shooter, and the external one is also a 20 megapixel shooter, while the predecessor only had 16 megapixel shooters for your selfie needs. At the back side, we have a triple camera with a lot going on. So there's a dual tone flash here, and let's see what else. So we have a 50 megapixel main camera with a Sony IMX906 sensor and optical image stabilization plus f1.6 aperture. You can see here the periscope telephoto 50 megapixel camera with 3.5x optical zoom, and finally a 40 megapixel ultra wide camera with autofocus for your macro needs. We have as a laser autofocus, we have 4K 60 frames per second, 10-bit capture, and there is a surprise in the camera interface. Actually, there's two surprises. You're going to see them in a minute. So, camera interface here. The first one is in the portrait department. There is the whole Harcourt thing. Harcourt is a studio from France. You're going to take high-end portraits of yourself with those typical shadows and lighting of a high-end Parisian studio. And then the other surprise happens in the video capture area. So if you go to the movie, for example, you have log colorization and also the loot profiles, which change the color look of your sample. If you're using log, you can do the colorization afterwards and improve the look of your image. And now let's go straight to the gallery. Okay, so it's time for the gallery of shots taken with this handset. I'm going to go to the camera. So there are 331 photos. We did have a ball testing this handset. We actually caught a pretty sunny day to do the tests. And I have to say that the brightness is spot on, the colors are pretty satisfying, but every now and then you'll notice that the vegetation is a bit overexposed. So this is the actual distance I was at compared to these buildings, and I started zooming in. This is something like 2x, 3.5x, 5x, 8x, and even up to 8x details are pretty decent, and I'm actually quite surprised. I would say this is a 3.5x zoom camera comparable to 5x optical zoom cameras out there, and up till about 8x will be very satisfied with the results. And even at 20x you can discern the writing on certain areas. I use the Harcourt special options to achieve this, I would call them selfies, even though you need the back camera to take them. They're pretty expressive, and they definitely express your mood at the time. Okay, so let's get to it. When we were in the park, I have to say that there's a difference. So this is the main camera shot, and this is the ultra-wide camera shot, where the details are a bit softer on the sides, and the image is a bit more washed out, a bit more white compared to this one. This one is more, I would say, imprinted. The colors are better imprinted in the shot. You can also find that here for the vegetation area, where you can see there's a definite amount of saturation and extra exposure on the sides compared to the main camera ones. We also tried to get pretty close to the fall leaves, and we managed that. I wouldn't call it exactly a macro, but a very close-up. Another set of zoom tests, satisfying ones. I would say it's above the previous generation iPhones and comparable to the current generation of iPhones. Lovely texture here for the roses. You can actually tell each petal from the other petal next to it. Even though it's November, I still find the odd rose every now and then in the sunlight. They're probably gone by now. This was in October, but still pretty impressive. Okay, we're done with the texture. I even took a shot with the sun in front of me, with the obvious problems, but in spite of that, I would say that the shot was quite decent in details and brightness and color. This is a moss on a tree. I got very close trying to take a macro. It took a bunch of shots, but in the end, I was happy with at least one of the results. The details are quite amazing here. Okay, let's see more colors. I would say they're pretty well calibrated, but you have to be in the shade rather than in the sun to get rid of the overexposure and oversaturation, which may appear every once in a while. Extra selfies here, they feel a bit more ghostly and washed out compared to the ones you can take with the main camera. You'll feel the transition happening once you switch to the main camera. So this is probably front camera, the more washed out ones, and the back camera, which can be used for the selfies, is signaled by the fact that you can go up to the zoom. This is 2x zoom on account of the back camera, and the focus is improved. You can also use the ultra wide, and you can also apply the Harcourt option, which is reserved only for the main camera, not for the selfie one. I didn't understand exactly why, but that's what Honor chose. A bunch of shots of ducks on a lake, excellent texture. I would say we're pretty much on par with the last year flagships or flagships from 2 years ago. Not much has changed. This phone is somewhere between the Honor Magic 4 Pro and Honor Magic 5 Pro. Some problems with the ultra-wide camera, but the zoom camera blew me away. These ones are nighttime shots. They're pretty fine and dandy, although there is the odd extra bright light halo with a dash of purple. The ultra-wide shots are quite disappointing, so you're going to see that here. So let's see. This is the main camera shot and this is the ultra-wide shot. You can see there are problems here, overly lit light sources and a darker shot compared to the main camera. The night mode is particularly useful when you have a bunch of light sources in front of you, so I'm not happy with this one. These are 3 logos of 3 different brands. This one is a failure. However, night mode clears them up in a pretty nifty fashion. And the selfies were quite surprising during the nighttime, although I actually caught a very strong white light bulb in front of me to achieve those. Quite nice texture of the leaves. There was a very strong rain while I was taking these shots. Once again, these are nighttime photos. Very contrasty if I'm being honest, but a bit of our expectations for a foldable phone. That's it for the photos. Let's go to the videos. We have 16 of them. And of course, as usual, people are wondering how good is this stabilization. It's this. Not bad, to be honest. There may be a bit of flicker at start, but in the end, a decent level of stabilization, good clarity. Didn't notice many problems with this stabilization. Okay, and then comes the famous focus test. Focusing on this acorn and on the background takes a few seconds, which is kind of annoying compared to the flagships. But it's not constant. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower. So I redid it like this. With the palm of my hand, things were a bit better. And by the way, excellent colors when it comes to the nature in the fall. However, not always. Every once in a while I noticed that there is a tendency to oversaturate and overexpose, particularly for this vegetation area here, as you can see. They're overly intense, the color hues. Aside from that, in the shade, things are a bit crisper. Okay, and we also have a selfie video. Lots of bass for my voice. The background is very blurry and noisy, to be honest. Okay, and this is my favorite shot because of how crisp it is. And even the color saturation and the sharpness of the trees in the background is quite okay. Not perfect, but quite okay. I would put the capture here somewhere between the Honor Magic 4 Pro and Honor Magic 5 Pro. Just slightly below the Galaxy Z Fold 6. Slightly. But a pretty decent microphone and nice stabilization. And the low light capture goes like this. This is probably the Achilles heel of the phone. I don't know if you can see it on this screen, but trust me, if you watch on a bigger screen, there's plenty of noise. The vegetation looks weird. The streetlights are also weird, and there are reflections galore and over-amplified light sources. And stabilization pales when it comes to the nighttime. You can see some reflections here, you can see the stabilization dropping compared to the day, so yeah, that's the weak spot, nighttime filming. And also some flicker on account of the light bulb which was behind me. So all in all, I'm happy with the close-ups, the stabilizations, the selfies taken with the main camera, the hardcore stuff, and yeah, now we can proceed to the connectivity. For the connectivity, we have 5G here available. We will also have support for Wi-Fi 7, GPS dual band, NFC. There's an infrared emitter here at the top side. And aside from that, at the bottom we have a USB-C 3.1 port, which does DisplayPort output, so you can output video. The calls were loud and clear, and we also had the speed test here. Let me just find it. It's easy because it's basically blue. So 875 megabits/second downloads, 778 megabits/second uploads in Wi-Fi, and on 5G 660 megabits/second downloads, 26.5 megabits/second uploads. I would say we're doing quite fine. And now let's talk about the software. As far as the software is concerned, this is Android 14 with Magic OS 8.0 applied on top of it. Now it brings circle to search. You can press here and then you can circle whatever you want on the screen, like the Play Store, for example. I circled it, and also get related searches. And aside from that, you can also translate what you see on the screen with this one, and you can also hum songs so you can find them online. Now, aside from circle to search, let's see. I can keep the screen pressed or do a pinch to check out the cards, which are basically widgets, which are smarter and expanded and more minimalistic. And aside from that, I can mess around with the transitions. I can also check out the layout and change it. And there's more. If I swipe down here, I can access the quick settings. I see useful stuff like unearth share, dark mode. There's also wireless projection and even link to Windows. Okay, aside from that, there's a sidebar here which helps you with your multitasking needs. So you can also have a floating app on the screen like this. And you can also make it go full screen or use a split screen like this. For example, if I open the browser here, I can simply browse images and browse the website at the same time. I can have an extra floating window on top of them to complete the experience like a note-taking application. So I'm splitting the screen in 3 right now instead of just simply 2. I can take a note quickly, either typed or handwritten note, or you can also use a stylus if you want to. And then you can all close it down. Okay, so there's also a so-called flex mode. I'm calling it flex, not officially. So basically, if you do this, you can see the gallery here and the options and the viewfinder at the top. That's just one example. And if you're using the gallery application and you select a photo like this one, you can have here a bunch of options, and like these ones. You can mess around with watermark, frame, doodle, AI eraser, beauty, and more. It makes it easier to do the editing when the screen is flexed like that. Here you're supposed to probably use it like a touchpad, like the laptop. And of course, in the browser, you have the website at the top, and you have the keyboard at the bottom, like a Sony Vaio. And probably in the note-taking application as well, split screen like this, keyboard at the bottom, text at the top, just like a Sony Vaio. Okay, that's the flex, which as I like to call it. And then we have the AI. So when it comes to AI, you're going to find everything in a single area here, Assistant. So we have suggestions of applications with AI. You have face-to-face translation, which is available as a shortcut here. Where can I find the closest store to get something to drink and eat? Okay, so as you can see, it wrote that here. And try to tell me something more in French, as I just arrived in Paris.
Ok, comme vous pouvez le voir ici, et essayez de me dire quelque chose de plus en français car je viens d'arriver à Paris.
That's just one example. There are multiple languages here available for translation, and that's just face-to-face talking if you want to. And there's also this option here, which may do a bunch of rotation of the image so you can properly see. You can also split it like this. One person sees his text, the other person sees their text. You can also swap them so they can get a translation going. Okay, now we go here and we also have magic text, which is basically a way of extracting text from the photos. It's very simple for me. I actually have a perfect example here. So I go to this with the coming soon. I press here and I can actually copy the text coming and coming soon, and I can select more if I want to. I can also share it or search it online. So yeah, text is automatically identified in the photos. And finally, Magic Portal, you know it already from previous Honor phones. It's very simple. It's a way of interacting with the text and the photos. I have an example here, the BBC website. For example, if I want to take this photo and I can drag it to the side and drop it into search images or a document or the email, and that's pretty much it. Let's try it again. Search images, newsfeed, Gmail, Reels, feed, and more. You can actually choose the apps you want to drop this into. And I can do the same thing with text. For example, if I go into this piece of news, I select a bunch of text from here. Keep it pressed, drag it to the side, put it in a type note, send it via email, post it on Facebook, and that's what Magic Portal does. It basically makes it easier to swap between apps. Aside from that, you have a lot of customization, so you can mess around with these options here. You have app scaling, you have a global taskbar available at the bottom. You have screen orientation, app scaling, home screen and style, always on display is available as well. And there's a smart feature which I didn't show you. and actually not a big fan of. Smart sensing is here, but also air gestures. You can move your hand in front of the screen, do air scrolling, take a screenshot, or go back by doing this. Not a big fan of it still, even though it works better than it did, I don't know, 2 years ago. Okay, as far as the pre-installed apps go, we have Health, which is finally differentiated from Huawei Health with a minimalistic look. We also have a very useful app here called System Manager, which even does a virus scan. And a selection of other apps. There's a note-taking application, there's a Teams application, and there's Honor Docs, a document application which rivals Microsoft 365, and possibly other options like WPS Office and more. I think we have reached the end of the review. I should also mention we have a fingerprint scanner here in the power button, and we also have stylus support, which is mentioned in the settings if you don't believe me, so should be here somewhere. Not sure where they put the stylus support. Let's see, assistance, smart gestures, accessibility features maybe. Yes, stylus, handwriting, and etc. Okay, we're at the end of the review. It's time for the pros and cons. On the pros, obviously, a very slim and sturdy phone with a pretty solid zoom. It's a comfy experience and a light phone. It's got bright and crisp screens, good performance, no overheating. The close-ups look fine, taken with the main camera. Pretty nice hardcore shots of portraits. Stylus support, AI translation, Magic Portal, Circle to Search are all useful if you want to get your work done. Good speakers and fast connectivity. That's pretty much it, and it can also handle some gaming. Now on the cons, it has some throttling. The punch hole may be a bit annoying when you're watching videos together with the black bars. The video playback and the PC Mark battery life wasn't that impressive. I actually expected a bit more. The selfies were also a bit underwhelming compared to what the main camera can do. The ultra-wide camera, I honestly expected a bit more from it, especially in the night. Video capture is also a bit underwhelming at night. The speaker don't have much bass. The phone was expensive at its debut. There are some inheritances from Huawei, like parts of the interface, like the way the back camera looks, so it inherited stuff from Huawei, not a big separation from that. At the end of the day, it's the slimmest and most robust foldable phone on the market. Finally, a foldable phone which you don't have to worry about if you drop it, if it meets water, and even if you drop it screen first, because it had a special gel. One of the best zooms available right now for a foldable phone, one of the best productivity features, and AI, aside from Galaxy AI, I'm talking about Magic Portal and all that, and solid screens, solid for gaming, and very, very comfy. At the end of the day, only the battery is the drawback here. Aside from that, I can definitely recommend it, especially if you're clumsy and you travel a lot and you may feel like dropping your phone because you're the kind of person that drops 2,000 euro devices. That's it from us, from GSMDome.com. Hope you enjoyed this review. We'll be back with more soon. Goodbye.